time to get outside and have some fun, but you can really bump up your exterior space by adding some art. Have you thought about it? Sarah Gunn has. That's why she's here with us this morning. Looking gorgeous. So pretty.
Love
so
that
pretty. I wore the dress as a tribute to you.
Oh,
because you always come here in your dresses and your skirts.
I know.
So I got to keep up.
I want to borrow that.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, good.
You know.
Good.
We've already talked all about it.
Yeah, that's true.
So when it comes to outdoor art, you sort of want to go big because there's a lot happening in your yard already, and you want people to be able to see it.
Well, if you want it to have an impact, definitely it needs to be really large, or it's just going to get lost with everything else that's going on. Yeah. And for this project, I was inspired by barn quilt art, which is a thing. I don't know if you know that's a thing, but it is in rural parts of North America. They hang these kind of wooden painted quilts on barns. You can actually go on different tours throughout North America to visit them. Like they're,
really?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
So generally on a barn, the standard size is 8 feet by 8 feet. But when we're talking about a typical backyard, I don't know about yours, but mine's really small in urban areas. So I went with something a little bit smaller. These are 3 by 3 feet. Still great, especially over an outdoor sofa or a dining set or something. It's still going to have that wow factor without being too massive.
Yes, and yeah, so this is the side I think most people would be looking for. And if you need more, you can do multiples, which would be cool in a backyard space, right?
I think a grid of 9 would be really, really cool.
That's cool. Yeah. Really nice. Okay, so how do you make these?
So the first thing you need is a material that's going to weather outside very well and be lightweight to hang on whatever surface you're hanging it on, whether it's the fence or possibly the exterior of your house.
Yep.
So this is plywood. Ask at your home improvement store which materials are best for outside. That's what I did, and they sent me to this. Okay. And I even get them to cut it for me because I'm a tad clumsy, so I don't like to deal with sharp things very often, unsupervised. So they cut them to size. Yes. And then it looks complicated, but it's actually super easy. And the internet is your best friend for this project. You can look online for inspiration for patterns, for color palettes, for everything. But for literally every pattern, I'm going to hold this one up here because I started it. You start out by blocking off 4 large squares. Okay. So you divide it into 4, and then you divide it again. So each one of those squares gets divided into 4 again. And then you create your pattern from that with diagonal lines. Oops, that one's going that way. And I highly suggest writing if you're going with a lot of colors. I don't know if you could make it out here, but I actually wrote which colors going in each section. Yes. So that I don't get carried away and paint it the wrong color.
That's very smart.
Right?
Especially if you're doing this with a glass of wine. Like, just know your limits.
The glass of wine comes tonight after painting all of these for the last couple of days.
That's a very smart idea.
And then if you want to tape it out, you can, but really you need a good quality tape. So, because I mean, some of them do bleed through, and then that's a pain with touch-ups and everything. So I like to use this brand. It works really well. Yeah. And then I also suggest, learning from my mistakes, prime it. Prime it first, because that's going to save you a lot of coats of paint, right? Especially with the lighter colors. And you can use any kind of paint you want with this. I just went with acrylic because you're going to treat it after it's done with an outdoor exterior varnish. Oh, you are? I suggest treating all sides, the front, the back, and the edges, just for that added protection. And I also think that you should bring it inside for the winter.
Okay, so you have to be a little bit, maybe a little bit pickier with art, the outdoor art. Like you can't just leave it there to weather. Treat it like you do your outdoor furniture, right? For sure. Most people don't leave it out unless they've got a tarp on it or something that's going to cover it, and our winters can get pretty brutal. So that makes sense.
So this one's actually the same as the one behind you in the navy and white.
Look at how different they look.
Yeah, they look completely different depending on what colors you use. Sorry about that. No problem. And then honestly,
Did you prime?
No.
Okay.
But here's my suggestion if you don't want to tape, because I didn't want to tape, because it's a pain and a lot more work. And I have 2 young children, so a lot more work is not in my vocabulary. So use a larger brush to get into the main section. Do you want to try it with the other one?
Oh, yeah, sure.
So that one's kind of cool because I left some of the natural wood. I think that's a more modern take on it with the black and the gray and then the natural wood tone. I love the texture of it.
Oh, so those are intentionally
They're going to stay like that. And then it's less painting too, guys, so that's a win as well.
Like that.
And then just to get up to the edges, here's my trick. I tell it to my kids, I'm going to tell it to you. Yeah. Actually put the brush facing the edge and then wiggle over to it and just slide it along.
Okay, you got to have a steady hand.
Yeah, so no wine after this part. Not before this part.
Right, okay.
And that's it. And you're going to need maybe 2 or 3 coats depending on, it's funny, some paints coat in one and then some need 3 or 4.
Right.
The orange not my friend after the last couple days.
Oh, really? It just depends on the opacity, right?
It does.
Or whatever.
Or even sometimes just the particular bottle of paint that you're using. It doesn't even always matter about the color.
Right.
But then, yeah, you just carry on and then give it a good amount of time to dry.
Right.
And then you just coat it with some varnish. Now, when you want to hang it, there's a couple of different options. You could potentially just screw it right into the wall, right?
Or the fence or whatever.
Exactly,
right?
Exactly. I found these, I don't know if you can see these.
Are they hangers?
They're hangers. I got them at a craft store.
Yeah.
And they're actually intended to go on the back of a frame to hang things inside.
Smart.
But because these are so narrow in depth, you could actually screw one directly into the corner here. Actually, I would do it on the top and the bottom.
Yeah.
So you screw one in and then screw it into the fence.
Yes.
And that's going to hold it really well. And if the silver bothers you, paint it.
Oh, that's true.
That's what I would
do.
Yeah,
look, even your sharpener's pretty. Is that your sharpener? Look at that. I wish I had a sharpener like that. She has a flower on her sharpener. That's really cute. Okay, and your little pencil's pretty too. Like, stop it. Okay, so you have all this. It's dried. You put the varathane on it. You hung it. You're bringing it in for the winter because, you know, you want to keep that art. Right. I think it's an excellent thing.